Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of The World of Gaming. And my co-host is already smiling. Yeah, man. It creates attention. The clap creates attention, and I see that I do that now in my short videos that I sometimes put up when I don't have the time to edit a full video. So
it's like your trademark, Boxy. It needs to remain.
It needs to. Indeed. Yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good. As you mentioned earlier, I'm podcasting a lot at the moment, but it's great. I'm having fun. There's a lot of good topics, a lot of different topics, a lot of different opinions. Yeah? So yeah, it's great. It's great Indeed. Fun. I'm doing well. You?
That's good to hear, man.
How are you doing?
I'm doing. Thanks, man. I'm doing good. A little bit exhausted from work, but that's became the normal with my new job. I'm now 3 months into the job, and I just realized it's a lot more, stress. But I enjoy the job, and I'm glad to be here because, like you said, man, it's always fun to talk about gaming. My biggest passion. I'm looking forward to today's show, and I want to welcome, of course, everyone who is already tuning in. The chat is already filling up with a lot of familiar names. Welcome to you guys, everyone. Welcome who listens after the fact on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Welcome to the show. We have a lot here to talk about. A lot. We will talk about Silent Hill and a couple of Silent Hill games that got announced. We will talk about the question if 30 FPS are going to make a return this generation. We will talk about Call of Duty and that it might not come to Game Pass. We will also talk about the CMA and that they need your help, folks. We will talk about this. Then what else do we talk about? We will talk about the new Xbox mobile store, the new Elite controllers from Xbox and PlayStation, Spiderman 2 news. We will talk about Avowed and so much more, man. But first, we need to talk about the games of the week. I still have it on my to-do list to do new jingles, man. we need something new, something fresh here. One day I'll make them. I will make them. But man, what has kept you busy? And I also want to know from you guys in the chat, what are you playing? I appreciate each and every one of you who tunes in and is not playing Call of Duty right now. I know it's in early access for those who pre-ordered. So I know, Dutch, you are looking forward to it. You're going to stream it right after this show. So, yeah. But what have you been playing so far?
Yes, so far. So, to be honest, I've been naturally every Tuesday, of course, we play Sea of Thieves. We've obviously got Sea of Thieves Playcast. So, I've been playing Sea of Thieves as usual. But the only other game that's kept me occupied other than Sea of Thieves before that has been Plague Tale Requiem.
Nice.
Love that game. Thoroughly enjoy the campaign so far. I'm really looking forward to getting back into it again. I'm debating whether or not to continue playing it again and do the rest of it on stream over a couple of episodes and kind of portion it out a bit. It makes sense. I got up to chapter 4. I was enjoying it. I'm going to play it anyway, so if I've already got part of it there, I might stream the rest of it. Just do that on Mondays for the next 2 weeks until I finish it. 16 chapters. 8, 12, 16. Yeah, 3 weeks, maybe. 3
weeks. So by the time God of War comes out, you would be finished. Boom.
Yeah.
Makes sense, man. So what do you think about it?
Oh, I absolutely love it. It's one of the most graphically impressive games we've seen for quite some time. The fidelity, the level of detail, the artwork, the music, the audio, everything's just phenomenal. But all in all, I think the one thing that I enjoy most about this over the first one is the pacing is so much better.
Yeah.
It just gets you straight into the action from the go. Like you don't, it's none of this messing around and things. Like at the beginning, you have this nice moment with Hugo, and you're like sinking like little acorn ships on the river, but then straight after that, that's it. There's no messing about. It's just straight in. Like you've got a stealth moment straight away, and it's trying to escape this little village, and it's such a great game so far. And I think that they've really outdone themselves. I think Asobo are very much becoming one of those gems of the industry. For both their technical ability and I think storytelling as well. So yeah, love it. I know you obviously reviewed it, which was a great review. But what are your thoughts all in all that for those who haven't seen that review?
Yeah. For those who haven't seen the review, and I actually have some footage. I tried to record not the very beginning, but a little bit a better part in the still early in the game, and a part that doesn't contain any major spoilers, so we can have a little footage of Plague Tale to look at here without giving away any spoilers for stories.
I remember this bit, and to be fair, I got around this really quickly. This part so quick, I didn't even expect it. I went far left, managed to miss everybody, took out all the guys with a slingshot, to the head, and then missed the guy with a helmet, went inside the building, and then obviously you get the next scene. But yeah, I was surprised because normally these scenes, I think there was one similar to this in the first one, and it took us ages. I kept getting caught every 2 minutes.
Yeah, like you said, that's the fantastic thing about this game is the pacing. It is the moment-to-moment sequences, and even after the stressful parts, they have like these calming moments and then they suddenly rip you out of the more slower-paced sections of the game. And yeah, man, it's really, really good. Like you said, the graphical fidelity is amazing. A level of detail, and I do not just mean the incredibly detailed textures and stuff, but also what they put into the world, how they modeled the cities and such. It's just really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I see a couple of people in the chat are also enjoying it. Jay is also playing a Plague Tale Requiem. And yes, we can debate, and we will debate the 30 or 40-ish FPS thing. But yeah, guys, let us know, what are you playing? We see Shared Cyclone is playing Persona 5. That's also out. Absolutely not my type of game, but but it's good for those who enjoy it, because I know it has a big fan base and a lot of people do enjoy it, and I do hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, they've been waiting for this one to come to Xbox for quite some time. So
indeed.
And finally, I'm happy for them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So what else have I been playing? Because I actually finished a Plague Tale, last Friday. I think, the day after the last podcast, I finished it already. And then took the weekend to edit the video review, and the embargo dropped on Monday then. So, yeah, I've been playing, of course, Age of Empires, man. Season 2 is coming to an end. Less than a week.
You, Age of Empires?
I actually hit the 350-hour mark earlier today. So it says now on my Steam account 350.2 hours. And I'm not slowing down. Season 2 is coming to an end.
15 days, that isn't it? Maybe a little bit longer.
Something like that. I don't want to do the math, honestly. No, but listen, I know people get bored about the Age of Empires talk, but season 2 is coming to an end, and they have this ranked system where you have they have a bronze rank, silver and gold rank, and in each and a platinum rank, and in each rank they have 3 tiers. So you can be silver 1, silver 2, silver 3, then you level up to gold rank, and then you have level gold 1, 2, 3. And whenever you win a match, you gain a certain amount of points. When you lose a match, you lose a certain amount of points. It really depends on how fast and quick you finish up your opponent, or are being finished up. So if you have like an hour-long game, you will only lose like 5 points if you lose. But if you are being beaten in like 10 minutes or so, then you will lose like 15 or 20 points. So, and right now I'm missing like 3 points that I achieve my goal for the season 2, and that is Platinum 1. So I only need to win one match now, the next match, and I'm kind of afraid to play it. So I've been practicing a lot in the non-ranked matches, because the next time I'm playing ranked, I really need to win. Then I hit Platinum, and then I'm done with season 2. So yeah, that has kept me busy.
Like a Champions League final for you.
Yeah. So it's so yeah, that is the Age of Empires Addiction. And besides that, I've also been playing a little bit of Grounded again. Like still enjoying this game, building a base. Actually, I built a second base now. Really having fun here. With Grounded. So yeah, and now I'm debating internally with myself whether to get Gotham Knights or not. So people in chat, let us know, will you be getting Gotham Knights? Because I'm a huge Batman fan. I'm like, the Arkham series is in my top 3 gaming series. I really love those games. And so I naturally was excited for Gotham Knights. And then a couple of days ago, we got this whole news about, well, it being 30 FPS, and now the reviews are out, and they are, let's say, mediocre. So a couple of bad ones, couple of mediocre ones, only very few that say it's good. And now I'm really debating. I've watched the Digital Foundry review. I've watched the ACG review, a review I really trust. And yeah, it doesn't seem to be what we all want it to be. So yeah, Paul in chat says no, he'll get Modern Warfare 2. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm really not that much into the multiplayer of Call of Duty, and I refuse to pay full price for that 5-hour campaign, even though I know I would enjoy it. I definitely would enjoy it, but paying full price for this 5-6 hour campaign, I'm not sure. So yeah, that's the thing, right? I'm torn whether to get Gotham Knights or not. You says in chat says he's the same. So yeah. Where do you stand with Gotham Knights?
Yeah, it's not my kind of game anyway, but just based on the reviews I've seen as well, and as you've mentioned, ACGs, and the way I work with reviews, of course, and I urge everybody to do this as well, is find a reviewer or somebody that reviews games that kind of has the same thought process as you do, or likes and dislikes, or the way that they kind of carefully review or go through things. Usually you find someone who you can agree with 9 times out of 10. That tends to be the reviewer that you stick to and the one that you trust, because they have the same, should we say, thought process on games. And their likes and their dislikes often marry up with what you usually like and dislike. So when they review a game, it's usually very trustworthy, because of course it marries up with how you think. ACG is that reviewer for me primarily. With his thought processes, the in-depthness that he goes into his reviews. I like the fact, of course, primarily he doesn't give it a scoring. It's buy, wait, rent, Gamepass, essentially these days, or what you would class as subscription service, because of course there's a few of them now. So I like that method as well. So it's a case of either don't get it at all, we recommend you do not get it, or yeah, I definitely buy it essentially as a must play in that stage. Buy it as must play, because of course parting with your money is a big thing. But yeah, his thought process was pretty much what a couple of the reviews also mentioned, and that is that the game seems to have a lot of fetch quests and It's pretty thin on the ground when it comes to certain things, which is...
Although everyone said it's a great story.
Yeah. And that's the thing, they said they enjoyed the game, but a lot of it was fetch quests, and that hurt the game. And let's face it, the one thing they're not, and it's obvious that they haven't got the side quests, as what we would like to call them, down to the same level as the likes of CDPR, where side quests feel like normal quests or feel like part of the campaign. And I think we're kind of spoiled in that scenario now, because now we're at that level where CDPR are creating side content in their game that feels like main content. Like, you can't distinguish from the two, because the side stuff's always as good as the main stuff. And there's very few games that do that now. I mean, even like some of them, it's games that you thoroughly enjoy. Sometimes you begrudge doing some of the side stuff because it is just pointless fetch quests, or run here and do this, help this guy pick this up, do this and do this. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a massive Batman fan by any stretch of the imagination. I liked a couple of the films, Dark Knight Rises, essentially the Dark Knight trilogy. They were by far the best Batmans out of all of them, in my opinion. Loved those films, but aside from that, in terms of Batman historically, not the biggest of fans. So it's not my kind of game, or the universe in itself. I appreciate those who do enjoy it, but especially when you're talking about kind of an open world scenario games, for me, I very much picky choosy with them, because it's a lot of time to invest in those games, and you want to make sure you do spend wisely. And if you're on the fence about it, and there's going to be a lot of people on the fence about it, I would just say wait until you get a sale, or wait until it drops into a service, and then play it. Only if you're absolutely sure do I say buy a game, and that's the only time I buy a game, is if I'm absolutely sure I want that game. If I'm on the fence about it, I don't get it. Last of Us Part 2, for instance, for me, I was on the fence about picking it up originally, waited for a sale, got it, enjoyed it, but I was on the fence about it. Don't rush out to get it if you don't know whether or not you want it, and that's essentially the way I do things anyway. Not everyone has to live that way, but it will probably save people a lot of money in that way as well.
Yeah, makes sense, man. FOMO is real. FOMO is real, especially when you're in the content creation scene, of course. You want to be part of the conversation. So it's also something, that's the thing, for instance, now with Call of Duty, FOMO, missing out on the conversation. It's the thing. So if I would know that they are gonna patch Gotham Knights in the next couple of weeks or months, I would wait for the Christmas break. This is also a fantastic game for when you're home over the Christmas holidays and just have a little time to relax and play. But I want to play it with the high FPS. And if they don't fix it by then, honestly, next year is too late, because next year we're going to be busy with all the major AAA releases coming then. And then you don't want to play that old alleged mediocre game.
The thing for you as well, and the thing I don't get is they're blaming the 30 FPS in Gotham Knights on the multiplayer aspect of the game. Now, for gamers like yourself, you very much like to play these things single player, especially when it's got a story.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to be interrupted, you don't want to miss the story or anything like that, or any of the story beats when your co-op partner's talking, or you're talking between each other or something like that. It's not like a regular MMO where you don't really have to pay attention to the story, because it's essentially just beat everything up.
I know.
This is a story-based game with multiplayer elements. And I think not having a 60 frames for...
We will get to that. We will get to that, brother. We will make it an entire topic of this, because there are a lot of things, a lot of statements I want to read here.
Yeah.
But let me thank briefly our generous friend Drawn TJ. He sends in the first super chat of the day. Thank you so much, man. He says, "Hi guys, wanted to stop by and show support. I'll watch later." Yeah, man, I know you are working during this time of the day. So thanks, man, for joining us. I hope you do enjoy the show later then, and of course have a great day at work. And let me tell you guys, this man is a master builder, especially in Grounded. Recently, he jumped onto my game, and then he has seen my base, and yeah, man, it's more a pragmatic base. It's got everything that you need in a base, but it's not like fancy. And then we jumped into his game, and like I don't know how long it took him, but Jesus, that is a palace, a monumental palace he built there. Incredible work. So yeah, man, I think with that we are ready to talk about the news of the week. There we go. Yeah, we will talk about the CMA needing our help. Yeah, guys, it's gonna be a discussion. We will talk about the 30 FPS thing, but first, yesterday, dude, a lot of Silent Hill games were announced, and I remember I was on your show and I said, like, guys, prior to the reveal,
single machine. I'm
yeah,
sorely disappointed.
I said, like, I expect them to not fully reveal anything. It's more like probably a mobile or NFT-based game or something. But hey, here we are. I was wrong, and they announced a couple of things, actually. They announced Silent Hill F, which is a new game from the studio behind the Resident Evil Resistance game, which is a complete new story set in the 1960s Japan. And it's supposed to feature a beautiful yet horrifying world. Then we have Silent Hill Townfall announced, published by Annapurna, which is quite interesting. Annapurna publishing a Silent Hill game. And then they announced the Silent Hill 2 remake, which is, surprise, surprise, exclusive. Hang on, where is it?
Exclusive.
Here. Although not to the Xbox, but to PlayStation and, of course, PC. So a console exclusive. And it's going to be remade in Unreal 5 using, of course, Lumen and Nanite. So, man, I want to know your thoughts. Are you hyped for these excitements?
Silent Hill Ascension and Silent Hill game.
The TV. Yeah, the TV series.
It was like an interactive TV series and the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the film, yeah. I left the TV stuff out because, you know, as an Xbox gamer, you're kind of burned with TV.
Yeah,
kidding, of course.
Kidding,
of
it's
course.
More the interactive side of things. It kind of plays into kind of semi-interactive game. There's obviously a couple of games on Xbox as well. I've forgotten the name of them, but they're the ones where it's like the series and you have multiple options and choices that you have to do. And
Quantum Break?
What was that?
Quantum Break?
No. There's like these interactive TV shows that you can do, but it's like on-screen choices. And you go through them, and essentially your choices affect how the story goes. And they've recorded multiple different variances of options to go along with whatever choice you've got. So
I have no idea what you're talking about. If someone in chat knows, let us know. Let us know what he's talking about.
Yeah, there's these set games essentially that are actually like essentially TV series that have been diced up into these unbelievable like multiple option variance worlds that you watch the series and then something happens on screen, but you get the choice as to what route you want to take, so how you want to respond to whatever happens on screen. And then the next, whatever you choose, there's another recorded option for that. So obviously the next part of the episode continues with that option, and so on and so forth. And each one has multiple options that go on further. And I think, judging by that, this is what this Silent Hill Ascension is going to be. So it's
what I read out of this is more that the community is gonna vote. So it's not you your solo experience that you will understand, but I think like the community is gonna vote how they will continue, and then so Painful Discourse says telling lies. Is it that?
That's one of them. Yeah.
All right. Gotcha. Now, hang on 1 second. Tronty J sends in another $5. He says, "Hey, hit me up when you want to play more Grounded, and I'll join you on Call of Duty if you got it." Yeah, I don't have Call of Duty, but Grounded I'm always up for. Yeah, man. When I see you online, I'll hit you up again. I need someone to help me with the big second base I'm building. So yeah, man. Yeah, Silent Hill. So what do you think? Another PlayStation exclusive, at least the remake of the second one.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm glad they're eventually doing it, but I'm sad that we're not going to see the vision that Kojima had for it. Because personally, I think the way that Kojima was going for it with what we experienced with PT would have been a far better experience than just remaking the second game again. It's a fresh new look, and I understand Silent Hill F, which was the Japanese feudal Japanese kind of setting, but that I don't like the. For those who don't know the actual backstory to Silent Hill and what Silent Hill is based on a town in America called Centralia. Centralia is actually, you can go there and it is a town exactly like in Silent Hill that had huge major fires underground in the mines, and the town itself started to burn from underneath. And so obviously, as like in Silent Hill, they had a major underground fire in the mines. Everything started to get, like, the earth started to crack, the town started to kind of ended up being a ghost town, and there's only certain people still live there because of how damaged it is. That is essentially what Silent Hill's based on. So to kind of dive away from what Silent Hill is, which is essentially Silent Hill is a place as we know it, and say, no, that's no longer that. Like, Silent Hill is now just the name, and we're going to do something in Japan. That to me kind of diverges away from what I know and love about the series itself, which was the backstory behind Silent Hill and what Silent Hill is. It's this cursed town essentially, that's stuck in this kind of cursed world. So yeah, I'm it's certainly interesting. I'm looking forward to see more of what what did you call Townfall? I'm looking more at the remake and Townfall, to see how good they are. But I will also say I will not be jumping on any of those day one. I'll be waiting for sales for both of these. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the thing, right? Like, horror is really making a return. Later this evening, we're getting the Resident Evil showcase, like midnight my time. I think that's 6 p.m. Eastern. Also, we're getting that, and that hopefully shows us also the next major Resident Evil, but more mainline Resident Evil. But I think we will definitely see Resident Evil 4, the remake again. So a lot of horror remakes. Dead Space is getting a remake. Now Silent Hill is getting the remake. I'd rather see like new games made. So that's why I'm super excited for Callisto, which is
that's why I was kind of and most people will be feeling the same way after seeing that it is a remake, and of course, yes, they're getting a couple of other smaller kind of side projects. But to not get the original vision that Kojima had for Silent Hill with PT, which showed the promise of how he can make that a true psychological horror game, which it was. Like, just that demo goes down in history as probably one of the best psychological horror kind of demos of a game ever. And it shows in just how much it's worth when it was taken off the store. Like, a console with that demo still on goes for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds, if not thousands. That's the vision that I wanted to see, and hopefully one day it might not be called Silent Hills, but hopefully one day we'll see Kojima's vision of what that game might have been without that name.
maybe just in the way like Callisto is the spiritual successor to Dead Space, we will get like Kojima. Yeah, maybe, man. We don't know what he's cooking up. Working with Xbox, apparently also working on a PlayStation game.
That is meant to be a horror game, by the way. The Xbox game.
Yeah, true. So yeah, man. We shall see. At least it's Unreal 5. It's gonna look great. That's cool. But yeah, next year is just crowded. And I'm not sure if I will be playing like a remake here. And if I'm playing a remake, honestly, I'm super excited for Resident Evil 4. That's my jam.
That's my favorite Resident Evil.
Absolutely, man. I remember playing it on my GameCube. I was like, just started going to university. I lived in a shared apartment, and it was late, and I started this up, and it was like mind blowing. It's just a fantastic game. Absolutely, can't wait to play that again. So
I want to quickly touch on the film. I know you don't want to discuss the film, but
sure.
The one hope, because Silent Hill's first film that they got out with Sean Bean in was phenomenal. Like, that was one of the best adaptations of a video game into a film. And granted, it's more kind of a cult classic because it didn't really do well in cinemas or anything like that. If it did go to the cinema in the first place, I don't remember seeing it in the cinema. I just remember watching it at home. But I hope, because it's the same director, that Sean Bean continues his character, because of course the follow-up, i.e. the Silent Hill 2 film, essentially, which is exactly what it is. It's the Silent Hill 2 film. Contains that original character and gets Sean Bean back to play the lead character in this one again, as well as he searches for his wife. So fingers crossed. But that's all I'll say on that one. I hope it's as good as the first film.
Yeah. It's hard to add anything to that. The first one really was good. We could talk about video game adaptations in movies someday, but I need to really think about that. I don't want to do it from the top of my head. I want to think about first all these movies we've seen. The good ones and the bad ones and really bad ones. Like
there are some really bad ones.
Let me write that down. TV or movie adaptions. We will make that a topic, and I'll give you a heads up so you can also prepare. Man, good stuff. All right. We started the discussion about 30 FPS actually earlier, already a little bit, but I want to make it a topic, and I definitely want to know the thoughts of the community here as well. 30 FPS. We are discussing them again in gaming. Of course, Gotham Knights. We all know it was announced it runs at 30 FPS on consoles. The Digital Foundry review actually revealed that it doesn't even hold those 30 stable. There are dips to the low 20s. So then we had actually the game we're seeing here. This is, by the way, recorded on PC, running on a 3080. So that's probably not representative for the experience that everyone has. But
I was going to say, I've got to say, it runs beautifully on the Series S, the little guy.
I haven't played it on the Series S. I've played it also on Xbox Series X, of course. Where it runs at 30, unless you have a 120 hertz monitor, where at least you get 40 to 45 frames. But that's by the way, with VRR, it's definitely playable then. But it's a noticeable difference. I played through the entire game here on my PC at very smooth 60 to 70 frames. It's noticeable. But other than that, we had a couple of weird statements this week. A Rocksteady dev came out and actually blamed the Series S holding this gen back. He called the Series S, and I quote now, a potato. So and then a couple of other developers, especially from smaller indie studios, came out saying that they heard like Series S. Or a lot of developers want that release, the mandatory release of a game on Series S be removed, so that they can only develop games for Xbox Series X. Stuff like that, we have heard that, and a lot of people, legit tech experts, came out and said, well, console gamers, just get used to it. 30 FPS is back. Starfield already came up again. Might run at 30. We don't know. The footage we've seen so far ran at 30, so everyone assumes it's gonna be 30. So, man, I want to hear your thoughts. 30 FPS. Are we gonna see that more often now on consoles again?
Yes. Maybe not so much. Maybe not so much from. I don't think from Xbox first party you'll see 30 FPS. I think you'll see most of the first party games from Xbox 60 minimum. I think internally they've got that remit. I think that's something that they'll be aiming for. I think specifically as well, people will be surprised with what Bethesda will be doing with their games. And the reason I say that is because they made a point in saying it's freeing up a lot of time on our end, not having to do it for many consoles now. We're literally focused on one platform. Like, that makes it so much easier for us and allows us to bring that polish and that performance across to that one platform, which is PC, Xbox. So much easier for them. So I think at this stage, Starfield and any future Bethesda titles, we know from their other studios, id Tech, etc., that runs flawless and it goes up to 120 frames, absolutely no problem. That engine's phenomenal. So I fully expect even Bethesda Studios and Starfield and Redfall, all of them, to be 60 FPS. They might have that additional mode where it's like unbelievable graphic settings and ray tracing with lock 30, but with ray tracing. But I think they will all have that remit internally of we need that 60 frames. From a third-party perspective, though, I absolutely believe, and this is where the holdback's going to be, because PlayStation are now focusing on cross-gen for another unamounted number of years, which they've come out and said, that is going to, for third-party perspective, severely hamper a lot of the decisions that some of these developers are going to make. Xbox drew that line in the sand ages ago. They said first 1 to 2 years is going to be cross-gen, and then we're going to move on. And that is the case. Next year, none of the games that are coming out for Xbox are cross-gen. It's Xbox Series consoles, PC, and cloud only. So unless you've got the next gen, then you play it on the cloud.
True.
So I personally think because of some of the decisions of the industry, we're going to see a lot more 30 frames games still, unfortunately. But to blame it on a specific console, as you mentioned, we'll get into that a little bit further as well in a bit. But to blame it on that was laughable, considering we know some of the other things that we found out about that. But what about you? What do you think about the 30 frames, and what do you think we're expecting more?
Yeah. Do I want it? Absolutely not. But I feel like the doors are open, and it's like console gaming is really something that we also always have to consider, like, what's the impact on most gamers, and most gamers are casuals, and the casuals, they really don't care about 60 or 30. I say that knowing that a lot of them actually do care, but they just don't know that they care, because like the casual gamer doesn't know why Call of Duty feels so good to play. He just plays it and likes it because it feels so good to play. But that's because it's always been 60 FPS. And that's the thing about FPS. FPS is hard to transport. you can't transport what 60 FPS mean in trailers properly. You can't transport it when you have these little clips on your timeline on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Yeah, you can't really transport it. But that's the things that sell games. Games will always sell through trailers and whatnot. So I think a lot of the 30 FPS discussion comes actually from that, is how good a game can look in a review, in a trailer, and whatnot. But is that good for us? Definitely not. And I feel like it is actually unexcusable, because like literally every engine out there is built around scalability. And the thing is that if anything holds something back in gaming, then it's always the lowest common denominator. And that's not the Series S. The lowest common denominator is PC, is the minimum spec on PC. And just take the example of Gotham Knights. That game runs on a 1660 graphic card, which is a 6-year-old low-tier graphic card. That's the minimum spec. That's a significantly worse GPU than the Series S has. It only requires a 6-core CPU. The Series S has an 8-core CPU. It doesn't require an SSD. The Series S has an SSD. It even has more RAM. It had, granted, the RAM is probably the thing bottlenecking the Series S, but still, if we compare it to PC, it requires 6. The Series S has 8. So yeah, literally, there's nothing wrong with the Series S. This is absolutely only laziness of developers not wanting to optimize. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, if we as gamers accept that from developers, because if we do accept it, we will most certainly get 30 FPS. Developers won't spend the money trying to optimize their games in performance. They just take the easy road, and that's what's happened with Gotham Knights. That's probably also what happens here with a Plague Tale not having a performance mode. I have no doubt that this will be patched in later, especially in a Plague Tale. But yeah, as of right now, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't demand a 60 FPS option at least. Although I must say, I also still find it really hard to talk about a 60 FPS mode as the performance mode, because I think this should be the baseline for games this gen. So the performance mode is, for me, the 120 frames we are talking about. 60 FPS should be doable with almost every engine out there. You can scale stuff around. And
it should be, it should be mandatory at this point, because the technology is available on the console, is that every developer works with FSR in order to get
scaling.
You
have
working.
These tools. You have these kind of
you have
tools
the options in order to get more performance out of your game and keep the resolution down, but also use false upscaling technologies like FSR in order to get the higher resolution you want to portray on screen. So, and it doesn't look any worse than it would do at the lower, at the higher resolution. So use it.
Use it. Just use it. And that's the thing. There's literally no reason why developers could not do something like that. If there is a technical reason out there, let me know. If you know a technical reason why it shouldn't be possible in any of these games we mentioned, I don't see it. But if there's a reason, I would definitely want to know. But there isn't. And if a game can run on a 1660 GPU at 60 FPS with a 6-core CPU, pushing the frames in and out at 60 FPS, you cannot tell me that a Series X or PS5 can't do it.
The thing is as well, though, Boxy, is like, I don't understand why. What the especially now, if everybody looks at what 2K looks like in comparison to 4K, the difference is negligible. like if you're going to go for your ultimate graphics mode, for instance, then don't aim for that 4. You don't need to aim for 4K. Even 2K is brilliant, and then you can upscale the 2K.
Especially with the smart upscaling technologies that we have.
Definitely, 2K looks unbelievably
free to
good.
use, guys, and it's not even costing them license fee that they say, hey, we need to cheap out because we're running out of budget. It's simply not it. It's free to use out there for everyone. So yeah, and we had Joe on our show, developer of Song of Iron, and he literally said, like, implementing DLSS on Unreal, for instance, is as easy as checking a checkbox. So yeah, there is really little to no excuse for that. Except, yeah, like Happy Cloud Gamer says in chat, pardon me, Paul said it in the chat, time and money. And yes, we as the gaming community, it's up to us to vote with our wallets and let the developers know what we think about 30 FPS on this gen of consoles. So yeah, that's basically.
I've seen Luke in chat there. The lucky chappie with a brand new 4090 build.
Don't get me started on this guy.
Build. Super jealous. Super jealous. That's right. We're gonna have to get him to do all of our gameplay capture footage.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Technology on PC. If we compare like what we have here in our consoles, we can compare the GPU of a Series X, I don't know, to a 2070 Ti or something, plus minus, of course. Yeah, and yeah, if we look at that, we should get at least like high settings at least 1440p and 60 FPS. That's what typically each game on PC has as a spec comparison. So yeah, I don't see this as an excuse here. And the statements that came out, like, yeah, in Gotham Knights, our world is so special that we have to do it like that. You would lose too much is simply not true. Yeah, that's simply not true. And yes,
our computers are no slouches, because I've got a 3060, you've got a 3080.
Yeah,
we're both in the 30 series, of course. Like you say, Luke's got a 4090, but when you have a look at the lowest common denominator still this year and this gen, it's PC. The lowest common denominator has always and will always be PC.
Exactly. And that's the discussion we need to have. Yeah, like raise the minimum specs on PC. Get rid of those old HDDs. When SSDs become the mandatory on PC games, and that's when we will see true next gen experiences here on consoles as well. Yeah, so yeah, man, I don't want to stay on this too long. I've seen a lot of people in chat also chat about this, and not just Luke's 4090. A lot of people say, of course, in some games we can live with 30. And while I agree that this is true, I think a game is still an interactive medium. Yeah, it just is. And when you interact, with a medium, with a game, you want those 30 FPS. Pardon me, you don't want those 60 FPS. And I agree that, of course, in a shooter or racer or something like these fast-paced games, 60 FPS or 30 FPS would be worse. Even in games like a Plague Tale, it's just more fun to play at 60. And I want to shout out briefly Fanto Sir, who has been a channel member for 4 months now. Man, thank you so much for the support. And he says, I agree with you on the Xbox Series S opinions. Cyberpunk is fire. Cyberpunk is a great example. Even Cyberpunk has now a performance mode on Series S. So don't tell me that this little man is holding the game development back. So that's just ridiculous. I wanted to say one thing, though. I do get it. The more platforms you have to develop and release on, it will always be more work. Of course, it's more work if you want to release just on Series X or Series X and S, or and PS5, and the Switch, or I don't know.
For me, there's certain games that I can forgive being 30 FPS, but there's other games that I simply can't. Like I mentioned the other day, it's like Plague Tale I can forgive being 30, 40 FPS, whatever it is, with the VRR and the FreeSync and everything we've got.
That's the thing. VRR helps here a lot. If you're not on a VRR screen.
But at the same time, the reason I say I can forgive it is because it is still a slow-paced game. It's very stealthy. You're crawling around for half the time. It's not like an unbelievable requirement like a Twitch shooter or a racing game or a fighting game or something that needs like quick reactions at all times. Like for the vast majority, it's a nice adventure game and a chill stealth, and you're sneaking around all the time. So I can forgive a game like that, but ideally, every other game, like Gotham Knights, it's high action, lots of enemies on screen, a lot of fighting, a lot of punching, a lot of kicking.
Absolutely.
Needs 60 FPS. You're talking Forza that requires it. Flight Sim not so much. That's very slow paced. But everything needs that 60 FPS. Like the vast majority of the genres have high action elements. And when you've got high action elements, and it's not so much like these slow-paced environments and you're sneaking around all the time, they require a much higher frame rate for much smoother operating, much quicker reactions. So the vast majority of games, I would say these days, the vast majority do need that 60 frames as an absolute baseline. There are some that I can forgive, but ultimately I would prefer everything being 60.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You know what led to the success of Call of Duty is 60 FPS, even though a lot of people, like I said earlier, a lot of people just don't know that this is why this game feels so good to play. Its frames just help. But speaking of Call of Duty, let's use this as a segue. Not the best one we've had so far, but it is a segue into our next topic. And that is Call of Duty not coming to Game Pass, allegedly. Supposedly. We don't know. But there were a couple of details made public. That Sony has like a blocking paragraph in their contract with Activision Blizzard that does not allow the game to be released on Game Pass. So if Microsoft is gonna honor their statement that they said, well, we are gonna honor, of course, all existing agreements, then this would mean that we won't see Call of Duty 4, and I quote, multiple years on Game Pass. So what do you think about this? Is Microsoft not gonna put Call of Duty in Game Pass if they succeed in acquiring ABK? And what's going on here with Sony yet again?
I think the loophole here in Call of Duty is that they would not be able to put the newest Call of Duty on Game Pass for a number of years.
Yeah.
However, the previous contracts for the previous title Call of Duties will have already expired.
Well, we don't know how long this contract is already in place. So it could very well be that we might get, I don't know, like a Call of Duty Ghost, which is now, I don't know, 8 years old. But we don't know if we would get last year's Call of Duty, for instance.
You have to think, but by the time the deal's wrapped up, and they've already said they're going to honor current contractual obligations. So you're talking at least 24, 25 anyway by the time that's complete. But even if it's keeping this one, Modern Warfare 2, off Game Pass, and the next one, which we know is essentially the final one before it takes a break, then I can see historic Call of Duties going on there, because those original contracts would have been signed up prior to Game Pass being a thing for the vast majority. So yes, we had Vanguard, yes, we had World War II, but I mean, who really cares about them? Let's face it. The ones before that, all the other historic ones were games that came out prior to Game Pass being a thing.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't have been a contractual term that kept historic Call of Duties prior to the Vanguard and World War II being out, essentially.
Yeah.
So that, I think, personally, that those historic games will come out. It might be that World War II, Vanguard, and the newest one, Modern Warfare 2 remaster, and even maybe the Modern Warfare 1 remaster that came out, the campaign, are restricted for another 2-3 years, and then they drop on. But I think the other back catalogue of Call of Duties will go on. But Microsoft, yeah, they'll honor that just to make a point. They'll honor it to make a point. They'll say we did our end of the bargain. We said we'd honor the contract. We've honored
You know what
it.
I would do? But that's why I don't run a multi-trillion-dollar company. What I would do is I would put this thing on the table, Sony, and say, okay, listen, if you insist on us not bringing Call of Duty to Game Pass, then we will. After this contract expires, pull Call of Duty and from the platform. Listen, the ABK deal is already not about console gaming. It's just not. It's about mobile. Mobile gaming.
You know what I would do from a purely business perspective, because this is going to make them more money. From a purely business perspective, what I would do is say, tell you what, we'll put it on Game Pass, but we'll also put it on PlayStation Plus.
That's an interesting thought. That is
because
interesting
from a
as well.
Perspective, in terms of money making, on skins, on add-ons, on expansions, etc., Microsoft would be raking it in.
But I see your point there. But Microsoft wants to grow their business. They
can't.
Listen. The thing is, for console gamers, there's not much in the ABK deal. If we are honestly, it's Call of Duty and it's the Blizzard games. Next year is such a lucky year where we will get a new Diablo, but a new Diablo comes out like every decade or so.
Yeah, it's like a new Elder Scrolls.
Exactly, it's like a new Elder Scrolls. So you will get one a decade, but at least we get other Bethesda games in the meantime, which isn't really true. And then it's Overwatch, but Overwatch is already free to play. So here we go. What's in this deal for console gamers in the next 5 years? There's really not much outside of Call of Duty. So yes, the main thing for them is mobile, and we will talk about their big move in mobile a little later in the show. But you gotta give the console gamers something, and this something is a Call of Duty. So when the next mainline Call of Duty drops, and this would be the first and only Xbox first-party title that is not gonna come out in Game Pass when it releases on a platform. Yeah, like I know Deathloop or so, but it came directly after it launched on the Xbox platform. It came to Game Pass. So they can't do this. They can't do this. They will find a way, or have to find a way around this and bring.
You said that though, but then if you have a look at the other versions of that same scenario, Deathloop and
Ghostwire
still isn't there.
Yes, but it has not launched on Xbox yet because it's exclusive to that.
Yeah.
But Call of Duty would come out on Xbox, but it would not come into Game Pass. So that's the difference. I
understand. It's kind of a similar situation in one sense, because of course it's not launching straight away and we'll get a later date in Game Pass. It's ultimately up to the people then whether or not they want to wait for that. And we know that Microsoft's plans for Call of Duty going forward is to stop it being an annual release. In order to kind of give a better, should we say, make the games better in the long run, because an annual cycle, as we all know, sometimes they become stale. And as we've seen from Call of Duties over recent years, they have not only become stale, but they kind of been lacking in ideas in certain respects, and it's kind of just recycled the same stuff and again and again and again. So I think Microsoft's plans of reducing that cycle and kind of stretching it out to 2 or 3 years between releases will ultimately help the franchise. But of course, that means the next game after the next one will absolutely be Game Pass day one. So I think because the next one as well will have a longer release after, well, until the next one that follows it, which we know it will be taking a break after the next one.
Yeah.
I think Game Pass going in within 6 months or a year of the release won't be as bad as what it usually would be. As you mentioned previously, if a game comes out and it's got an annual release cycle, you're not going to be bothered about playing it a year later because the new one's out.
Yeah.
But if that changes and they change the cycle and say, no, it's now every 2 years or every 3 years, then that annual release. So essentially, you've mitigated that, because of course I'll just wait a year later. I don't mind. I'll wait a year or wait 6 months, because I'm not really going to miss out. Like, the next game's not for another 3 years. If it was staying on the current cycle every year, then absolutely, I would say that's, you want to get that on Game Pass, at least this next one on Game Pass day one. But with it having a break next time around, I think it's not as bad.
Yeah, I mean, that depends really, is how to read the several years.
And I suppose the good thing is much like this one, I hope they do the same again next year, and they do a beta so we can try it out. The good thing about having these betas and open betas is you can try the Call of Duty, see if it's any good, because we know with Call of Duties, they're hit or miss. Some years they're really good, another years they're bad. We've seen that with Ghosts. Like, that was Xbox had the marketing right, unfortunately, for Ghosts. We look back at it now and say unfortunately, because that was the worst Call of Duty we've had.
Yeah. But that's exactly the thing. Like, is it really like, okay, for the next 3 years? Although I find even that too long, honestly, for Xbox gamers to wait for Call of Duty games to come to Game Pass. So yeah, I just can't see a world where you spend $70 billion plus on the biggest acquisition that gaming has seen to date, and then the more or less the only console game not bringing to your subscription service. I just feel that's so weird, and I would be truly surprised if Microsoft wouldn't find a way around that one. It's just so weird, and it just tells you also how scared Sony is of Game Pass, for them to really put all these clauses in place in their contracts. Okay, they know what kind of juggernaut Game Pass is, if played right, and Microsoft does play it right. So that's really something. And I just wonder why they don't put in the same effort that they put in trying to not bring games to Game Pass, and not bring certain games to the Xbox platform. Why don't they put the same effort in enhancing their own service that would automatically bring in gamers? So instead of spending money in putting a Game Pass block clause in a contract, use the same money to bring better games to your service. It's just weird. It is just weird. But you know what else is weird? The CMA. The CMA is weird, and it when I read this earlier, I had to read it twice, because Luke, if you're still in chat, let us know if this is normal. For those who don't know, Luke is a mergers and acquisition lawyer. We had him on multiple times now on the show talking about this stuff. So What the CMA did is they called on the public for its views on the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. I quote now, "At this point, we invite anyone, including members of the public, to share their views with us." So, gamers out there, help the CMA. Let the CMA know your views on this deal. Is it good for competition? Is it bad for competition? Dutch, I want to know your thoughts. You can hear the sarcasm in my voice. What do you think of this? What's going on over there with the CMA?
I can't wait to see the CMA read through all of these Sony fanboy posts that they're going to be posting, saying Microsoft is the death of the of gaming. Microsoft is killing gaming. Microsoft blah 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 blah. There are frauds, Xbots everywhere, and then CMA having to read the word Xbot and wondering what the hell an Xbot is.
Hang on 1 second. Luke writes in the chat, thank you, man, for answering. He says it's normal. It's part of the procedure after issuing their issue statement. Oh, I had no idea. So, but please, Dutch, continue.
To me, it's funny that they're going to have to read out what will ultimately be a load of American Sony fanboys, mainly young kids. So obviously some really strange adults that are going to post these things as well, but mainly kids that don't know what they're talking about, complaining about something that they don't truly understand, using the word Xbots and calling people the F word as a homophobic slur, and calling Phil Spencer or calling him names in a CMA post. And I feel sorry for the guy from the CMA that's going to have to read through some of this stuff, because there's going to be some hilarious and terrible things written.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just for reference, Luke put in the chat an interesting thing. He says, if I recall, when Fox tried to acquire Sky in the UK, the CMA got something like 13,000 submissions. Man, I think we can top that, right, gaming community? The question now.
Already got that from that one guy that always comments underneath every Xbox guy.
You mean that Tay guy from Bloomberg, or?
No, that he's called like Xbox or Xbox Slayer 420 or whatever he's called. The guy that leaves the comments on everyone's YouTube channels, calling them shills and Xbots and corporate slaves and stuff like that all the time. He's already submitted about 30,000 requests himself.
Probably.
Truly on the CMA side, I feel sorry for them having to read through some of this stuff, because they're specifically putting it on Twitter when it's getting posted around some of the communities we know. There's going to be some hilarious bad takes putting across to the CMA that bear no fruit compared to the actual overall and all-encompassing wider public. You would call the casuals. Casuals really don't care.
They are not gonna submit, and that's my question here. And guys in chat, let us know your thoughts on this. I mean, who submits something now to the CMA? It's a diehard fan base, and like Luke said in chat, I'm sure I'll have a good amount of Xbox and ponies in the submission. It's inevitable, yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing now. How many quality submissions will be there? Like good stuff, not just the fanboy stuff. What do you think?
I don't personally see someone putting an actual comprehensive submission towards the CMA that isn't from the general public. There's going to be a couple of people that don't quite understand it and want to look into it a little bit more, or don't know how it's going to affect them. Or maybe there's going to be a few regular casuals that submit posts that say they're concerned that they can't play Call of Duty anymore. And of course, that'll be taken into account. And of course, Microsoft's response will be, it's not going anywhere. So you don't worry about that staying on PlayStation. You can still buy it on PlayStation. I can't foresee anybody putting a forward case as to like a counterclaim, or this is what Xbox has done, this is what Xbox has produced, this is what the rest of the gaming market does. I don't like an actual counterclaim would be the like Nintendo has no say in this deal and doesn't care otherwise, because the Activision games really don't go on that console and they live perfectly fine without it. So Nintendo aren't affected by this deal in any way. The only ones affected by this deal is Sony, and if we have a look at the counterclaim, is that they do almost exactly what they're complaining about. So they're claiming Call of Duty is this juggernaut, but they're also, as we've seen very recently, Silent Hill is now an exclusive PlayStation for a time period. Final Fantasy VII Remake which was meant to be a timed exclusive till 2021, is still nowhere to be seen. Final Fantasy 14 was meant to be on
16 is going to be exclusive.
Yeah, it's countless. It's basically putting forward these things saying, listen, like, from a wider industry perspective, they're all guilty of doing exactly the same thing. So it's hypocritical of this particular competitor to point out about Call of Duty or certain games going exclusive, or how exclusives are a harm to the industry when they're partaking in the same culture. So if you were to take this into account, then you would have to take Sony's own operational methods into account as well in this. But I don't see anybody actually putting a full comprehensive case forward to the CMA from the general public like that. That would detail kind of a counterclaim, as it were. And likewise, from a Sony perspective, I don't see anybody putting forward an actual legitimate case as to how this harms the industry. Like there is no factual evidence how this would harm there is nothing to suggest this would harm the industry factually.
Yeah,
there isn't.
True.
Like, it doesn't. In no way does this detrimentally affect the industry. Even we've even seen to the point where even when games cannot run on Nintendo now, they're getting cloud-based versions of the game in order to make sure the game works on the console, or at least they can play it on the console. That's Nintendo. So you're saying that there isn't a cloud competitor, but Nintendo have the ability to have cloud games on their system in order for people to enjoy games that might not otherwise run on there. So they don't need technical parity because they have a cloud-based version that would otherwise not be able to run on the system.
Yep.
So in terms of the industry perspective, I don't see an Xbot, a legitimate Xbox fan, putting a good case forward with comprehensive details. And likewise, I don't see an actual Sony fan, not a pony, an actual Sony fan putting a comprehensive case towards the CMA in one of these things that would give them anything other than what they don't know already.
Yeah. So, I mean, you make a lot of sense. I feel like, I mean, in the hardcore gaming community, we've been discussing this deal the entire year, and we've seen. I still find it very interesting because it kind of gives us a little peek behind the curtain. See what's going on in the back. What we would have never had a look at some of these contracts and things that we learned over the year. But now, if you honestly, like, if you submit something to the CMA for either sides, probably most of those will end up being, of course, some console war stuff. So I can't imagine being the lawyer responsible, reading through all this, picking out the really good ones. Like we have had here in chat Sentinel, who says he sends in an email this afternoon. So that's cool. I do hope that at least a couple of quality submissions will be in there. It's interesting to see. It continues to be interesting. I had no idea that this apparently is more or less a standard procedure, like Luke confirmed here in our chat. Our mergers and acquisition lawyer. He knows what he's talking about. But still, it's yeah. Well, the CMA, it kind of looks just weird when you have these stories come up. It just does. I don't know. But man, I don't want to drag this out too long. There has been a couple of other bigger news items this week. Xbox opened a new store on mobile. They have now a mobile store that is supposedly, or with that they want a mobile gaming store. Let me put it this way, to take on Apple and Google. It's on the way for all mobile devices, although it's not really clear how they would make that work on iOS platform. And the Activision Blizzard deal is obviously key for that new platform and store. And I've said it earlier that the main reason for the ABK acquisition is mobile. It's not Call of Duty. It's their push towards mobile. Microsoft has said it before. They want to reach the 3 billion gamers, and the biggest gaming platform there is mobile. And they have no presence there. So with that, they already prepare to for that ABK acquisition. So what do you think of this now? The Xbox mobile store. What can we expect from that? Will we see Game Pass on that store?
Yeah, you will. They made it ultimately clear, obviously part of the Activision Blizzard deal, as well as other titles they will get from that. It's King is the major thing that they're looking at from this deal in the first place, to help them with the mobile segment, because of course they want every market covered. They don't just want console and PC and cloud. They want mobile. And King is a major part of that. Now, we've got to think of all the games that they could create as aside from that. They know the mobile market is huge. I foresee Game Pass, of course, playing into this, meaning that, of course, if you have Xbox Game Pass, then you can get all of these games on Game Pass via the mobile store. That's how you download them. Otherwise, of course, if you don't have Game Pass, you can just buy them on the mobile store.
Hang on one sec. I need to read that the comment. I find it hilarious because he's so spot on. Thanos in chat writes in and says, "Good Lord!" So I need to have the Game Pass app, the Xbox app, and now the Xbox Store app. Yeah, man.
All of the apps.
All of the apps. Absolutely. Sorry for interrupting you, man.
No, it's true though. It's absolutely true. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, it is. It is.
No, it's for me, it's the route they want to go down. Of course, it's a market they need to tackle. The mobile games we can expect to see on that are, obviously, we've seen in the past them trying to do things like Gears Pop. And obviously they'll be looking at things like Bejeweled, Wordle. And again, you've got to think at other titles that are already on things like Play Store and stuff like that they'll be speaking to get onto mobile Game Pass. Mobile games that are out there at the moment, there are some mammoth mobile MMOs and mobile games that are already out there, action adventure games, things like that. There are some really high quality mobile games these days, as well as these little kind of fun things like people play that they're addicted to, like Bejeweled. And those are the games I think they'll be starting to speak to. Like, not only are we getting these games here, so in future on the Game Pass thing that we see every other week, where it's like this game, we'll see Xbox Cloud and then another line underneath, and it'll be mobile. And you'll see all the new mobile add-ons that they'll get for Game Pass. So not only will they be producing from some of the smaller studios, and we maybe even in the future see acquisitions of mobile developers to create new mobile content or mobile games, etc. And I think that's that is obviously it's just another avenue, and they want to reach, as they've mentioned, billions of gamers. And of course, we've got to understand that billions of gamers don't exist on console. We've got hundreds of millions on console, but not billions.
Yeah.
And then we go over to PC, and then you've got a smaller share yet again. The PC section's even smaller when you're talking about actually gaming. And then you talk about mobile, and mobile is mammoth. Like, mobile by itself is bigger than console and PC combined in terms of its user base. So the only way to reach billions of gamers is to really tap into that mobile market and produce content that folks like me and Boxy and everybody in chat here are unlikely to be entertained by or want to play. There's going to be a couple of titles in there that might intrigue us, that will be like something to keep us busy on the way to work or at work or something like that, when we haven't got our consoles, or in breaks, or tiny little things that we can do, or I don't know, some of these sim games or management games or something like that. But the benefits I suppose Microsoft will have with Game Pass as well is that it'll be things that they can implement from a quality of life perspective for some of these games. As we know, with the likes of Bejeweled, etc., you run out of energy, you can't play the game again for a bit, or you run out of lives and you can't play the game again for a bit.
Yeah.
With Game Pass, they can implement something, or if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you never run out of energy. You can,
and you get like 10% off when you buy in-app purchases or stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely, man.
And that would just increase Game Pass further. And again, it's just another strategy in order to widen this Game Pass mammoth approach that they've got going. So
100%, 100%. And I will touch on it in a second as well and give my thoughts. But first, I want to read a super chat from Sith Lord. He sends in $2 and says, "Hi, I'm Jim Ryan, and World of Gaming is now PlayStation Plus exclusive." Yeah, man, not gonna happen. Not gonna. Our podcast is available everywhere. You know, we are not even limited to just YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We try to be as open as possible, and everyone's invited here. So no exclusivity deals here, except the exclusive, amazing opinions you get from Dutch here and my ramblings. Yeah, I mean, you touched on a lot of things already. Yeah, mobile is the way to grow your platform. If you truly want to grow your platform, you got to do that. It's not going to happen in the console space. The console space is kind of more or less saturated. If you look at all these generations, you always have combined sold consoles around about 250 million to 300 million in between Xbox, PlayStation, Sony. Yes, there are shifts. For instance, at the beginning of the 360 generation, Xbox was really doing well. Obviously, we know how the Xbox One generation went, and so on. But overall, the growth in the console is limited. We will see, I have no doubt, by the end of this gen, a shift towards Xbox. Sony won't have the same market share as they did in the beginning of this gen. There's no doubt about that. But the overall console gaming market is not growing. Mobile, on the other hand, if you can bring in mobile, that does grow your ecosystem.
I was going to say, as a kind of example to even Nintendo getting into mobile, you have a look at Pokemon Unite, which is doing really well.
Yes,
really
absolutely, well. And the Mario game, and they have a few things on mobile. And granted, Xbox tried their things as well. They had Fallout Shelter, and with Activision Blizzard, obviously, it's not just Candy Crush. Like Diablo Immortal is absolutely doing well. The highest revenue within Activision Blizzard actually comes right now from Diablo Immortal. So, that's doing well. And now imagine you have Game Pass on mobile, and I know a lot of these games are already free to play, but they have like these in-app purchases. And as a Game Pass Gamer, you get either like I said, 10% off, or like you said, you get certain items or whatnot in your mobile game. And then you have that subscription already, and then you look at your phone and you see like, oh, what's this kind of game? And then you suddenly open up a Blake's Tale, which runs in the cloud, and then you realize, hey, all I have to do is to hook a Bluetooth controller to my TV, and I can stream it there and continue right there. So that's how you. That's a strategy right there. How you convert the casual mobile gamer into like a more gaming focused guy. Yeah, when you just give them all these options, and then you browse through the app and you see like another 500 to 600 games available on my PC, on my TV through cloud streaming, or on my son's Xbox, which is already under the TV. I don't know. This is how you convert mobile gamers into more serious gamers. And I think it is a massive move, and not enough people talk about it. But let me briefly catch up on one of the super chats that follow the Sith Lords, and it's from Gamer by Choice. Another channel. He says, "Hi, I'm Phil Spencer, and I'm willing to pay more."
You're in a bidding war here.
I had no idea that we have so many CEOs here in our chat. Guys, thank you so much. That's hilarious.
Hi, I'm Bowser, and I'm not selling.
I'm not selling. Keeping it exclusive here. Dude. No, good stuff here. Yeah, mobile. The Xbox Mobile Store. It's gonna be interesting how this will turn out. I just hope, like, seriously, the comment earlier from Thanos was fantastic. That Microsoft is gonna unify their Xbox apps. I already hated that we have two. I have two on my app. Pardon me. I have two apps on my phone.
Specifically for like logging in for daily tasks, like both of them are separate.
Yeah, that's horrible. Who had this idea? Honestly, who had this idea? And then the core functionality, like the store, is still missing on either of these apps. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Just a trick way of getting up user engagement on apps. So you have to go. It's the one app's telling you have to go into the Xbox app to get the daily thing to get your points, and the other one says you have to log into the Game Pass app to get your points. User engagement.
User engagement. Yeah. Man, you should work at Microsoft, and then we would have a third and a fourth app.
You'd have 7. You'd have all of the apps.
Like an entire app store. You would build your own app store just for Xbox apps. I see that strategy already. Yeah,
and force people to log into every one of them to get points.
Okay, right.
There we go.
Oh boy. Let's talk about controllers. I know you love controllers, man.
Yes. I'm full of controllers.
You're everywhere. And you do it in a way, you're not just a collector. I mean, you're passionate about them in the sense that you really customize them. Oh, there. Hang on. I'm gonna make this make you a little bit bigger so everyone can see those beautiful controllers that you customized yourself. I don't know if a lot of people know that, actually, but I do hope they know, because it's a hidden talent of yours. A lot of customized consoles and controllers. Such a good stuff. Can I make in this thing here? Can I only make you big? I can make me big, but can I make?
Oh,
I have no idea. Nah, not really.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, good stuff here, man. So let's. Why do I bring up controllers? We have had something very interesting this year. This week, we had both platform holders, Sony and Microsoft, basically launch their elite controllers. Yeah, the PS5's DualSense Edge controller launched or is gonna launch globally. Well, in January 26th, on January 26th, with a recommended retail price of $200, 210 pounds, and 240 euros. So we don't even have a price parity here again, which is weird because we had that for a long time. Oh, hang on, I'm just trying to convert it in parallel. 240 euro in dollar is like right now 234 US dollars.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a cheap thing here. Not a cheap thing. The replaceable stick modules, which you have to buy separately, will cost 20 US dollars or 25 euros or 20 pounds in the UK. On the same day, basically, Microsoft announced that the Elite Series 2 controllers are now available in Design Lab, where you can customize them yourself.
And not just it. Unlike the other week where we got a couple of colors you could choose from the core one.
True.
Now it is fully Design Lab.
Yeah,
multiple
fully
options
Design
for
Lab,
everyone.
like sticks and everything, grips,
The case,
everything.
you could even create a custom case with a different colored shell thing on the front. And
True that. And they cost you 150 US dollars or 125 pounds. Yeah. Or if you want all the Elite components, exchangeable stuff, you are at $210 or 175 pounds respectively. So yeah, man. Elite controllers. What are your thoughts of the PS5's Dual Edge? Is it probably gonna be worth the price? What do you make of the Xbox Design Lab Elite controllers for $150? Let us know your thoughts.
So Design Lab for Xbox Elite, we've been asking them to do that for a long time. And we have eventually got it. And I think the way they've done it is great. If you've already got an Elite, you don't need another case because, of course, when you're not charging one, you could be playing with one. So you don't technically need to buy the full thing again, which is awesome. It means you have the choice there to just get the core customized and just get that sent to you. Alternatively, if you don't have an Elite and you need the brand new one, then you can do the whole thing. And it would still come out the same price as a brand new Elite Series 2 with its components anyway. So you're not spending more than you would on a regular Elite Series 2 with the carry case and the components. You're spending the same price, which is 150 or 180 or something like that, with everything included. As you mentioned, in 125 if you don't include the carry case. And it's same for the core. The core is exactly the same. If you just want to buy a white core Series 2 Elite without the components, it's 125. So really good. And on that front, it's really good that they've managed to match the pricing, where customizability is pretty much no different from just buying a standard Elite 2 with components or a standard Elite 2 core. So I would say hats off to them, because that's far more complex than just shipping an expensive controller that is no different to anybody else's expensive controller. So glad to see it happen. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind, much like the other design labs, that we'll see more color combinations. We'll see camos and things like that coming up. So I'll not be getting one immediately as a design lab, primarily because I can already do a lot more customization to Elite Series 2 controllers than what is available on there at the moment. But when they start adding things like additional colors that I can't get anywhere else myself, then I'll be looking to kind of create something a little bit silly. On the PlayStation front, however, I think 210 is going into scuff territory, and I don't mean that in a positive note, because I think scuff are overpriced. Way overpriced controllers for what they are. They're really badly made. I fix a lot of controllers separately as well in the background for people, for friends and family and things like that, because they know that I repair controllers, which is primary. They're not really that bothered about customization. They're more bothered about trying to fix their stuff. And believe it or not, it's a lot of PlayStation stuff half the time. But it's always scuff controllers more than your standard controllers. So when people are bringing them to me, it's always components are broken or they can't get into them. And Scuff have a habit of putting safety screws in that only they can unlock because they're sneaky like that. So you have to send it for them to repair, and it takes forever. Thankfully, I can undo that and fix them, but they are really badly made. On the PlayStation front, the one benefit they've got is that they've got stick modules that you can replace if the sticks go faulty. They haven't stated, as far as I can see, how much these replacement stick modules are going to be, and no doubt they're going to cost like 20 quid. They're going to charge through the teeth for them. Now, if you're buying a replacement stick module online for an Elite, for instance, which I do to repair them, you have to solder them back on and things, so it costs a bit. I can pick up the replacement stick modules for an Elite, for instance, for like £5 or €8 or something like that. So if it is broken, I unsolder the current module, solder the new one on, test it, great, done, sorted. The vast majority of the time, stick drift is just dirt and grime. And I mean, by vast majority, 95% of the time, it's dirt and grime.
Yeah.
It's something stuck within the actual module that a good clean, some compressed air, a little bit of lubrication fixes it right up. 9 times out of 10, that fixes it fine. The other time, it's when someone's maybe pressed too hard on it, or they've dropped it and it's went in too hard and it's actually damaged the circuitry in the module, which means it no longer acts like it should do.
Yeah.
On that front, then it needs replaced. So it is good that they have replaceable stick modules, but I'm concerned that the pricing is going to be expensive.
On that note, or on the stick drift, there's a super simple technical solution to build controllers without stick drift. Dreamcast did it because all sticks in modern day controllers, all
the same.
of them, all the same. Like you have these X and Y resistors. Yeah, so when you push the stick towards a certain direction, you change the resistance of the electrical circuit in that direction.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you said. Obviously, if you get dirt in there, you change.
Even in modern controllers now, it's not just that they're the same type; they are literally the same modules. All of them use exactly the same component. None of them are different.
Yeah, absolutely. And the super easy technical solution is to not use a resistor, but to do it magnetic based, like the Dreamcast did. So there's no Dreamcast controllers with stick drifts because it's technically not possible to get stick drift. But that just shows you that all of these manufacturers, they just want your controller to die after 2 years or something. Because there's a lot of money to be made with accessories, and I think that's also why these Elite controllers become now so popular. I mean, I still have my Elite 1 right here. I use that as my PC controller these days. I don't have any issues, but the build quality has always been the big criticism of the Xbox Elite controllers. So I wonder if Sony goes for I don't know, that €240 price point, which is, by the way, the price of an Xbox Series S or almost. Yeah. You can get the Series S right now at 260-ish if you're lucky in a sale. So we're talking here now of a Series S territory for a controller. I wonder if they will also face certain issues like Xbox that did with their Elite controllers. And do you expect the build quality of the Elite 2, which is now available in the Design Lab, to be better? Because they said when they launched the White Elite 2 that they have significantly improved the build quality. So what do you think here in terms of build quality? You're the expert.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to judge whether or not that is an actuality. It's more of a time will tell. Is to because again, the only people that know or believe that the build quality is better, and by build quality we don't mean just the way it looks and feels. We're talking about its durability. The only people that know and have the statistics to suggest it might be better is Xbox currently, because users haven't had enough hands-on time to say otherwise. Hopefully it is. The build, I think what they've managed to fix primarily, which is one of the major complaints, is the grip. The grips on the Series 2 are no longer an issue anymore. Like the vast majority of the time, I haven't seen one faulty grip issue. The issues we're still getting on the Elites are primarily when it comes to button actuation. So sometimes the button actuation isn't correct on the ABXY. Other times it's the shoulder buttons. Either RB, LB doesn't click in properly or stops clicking in entirely. And then, of course, more rarely than on regular controllers, but you still get stick drift. And like I say, thankfully for anybody, if anybody wants to do that, the Elite Series 2 is relatively easy just to open up. You don't have to unscrew anything other than the main case itself. In fact, no, the main case on the Elite, instead of the actual front shell, can be taken off without screws, so you don't have to worry about that. You just pry it off. Gives you access to the sticks, a little bit of compressed air in the sticks, nice little fine brush, like painter's brush. Give it a nice clean down. Usually that sorts out stick drift. You'll be fine in no time. But outside of that, button actuation, unless you're a little bit more technically minded and you like getting into things, that can be a pain in the butt. Taking the controller apart, taking all the screws off, taking the buttons out, making sure the connection points are actually meeting, and then putting it back together again. The vast majority of these things are maybe just build quality as opposed to the actual things being broken. So you'll send it in for repair. They take the controller apart, they make sure the connection's on fine, and then put it back together again. And I know personally that is one of the issues that they've got, because I've accidentally put there's a rubber pad that meets the circuit board where your button goes on top of, and I've accidentally done it so it's slightly off when putting it back together. It's not something I noticed until afterwards, and I was trying to press it and nothing was happening. I was like, oh. So I took it back apart again and noticed it was slightly unaligned, just slightly. As soon as I'd done that, working fine. So it's things like that. It depends on how quickly the build process is, which is causing a lot of the issues. Secondary, the problem with the shoulder buttons on modern day controllers as well is that they are very fine circuit board buttons. We're talking like literally on the circuit board, and then it's just a tiny little button that clicks in and out. So I don't know what the pressure sensitivity is there, or who they've tested that pressure sensitivity with, but I would imagine those with firmer grips or bigger hands, for instance, who are used to pressing things in, even laborers, people that are used to working with pretty rough things all the time, are going to be a far more, should we say, naturally aggressive with their grips. So when they're pressing in the shoulder buttons, it can be causing issues with that and breaking that, or causing damage to it. Even the littlest of drops or dropping it from a height can probably break that button, which is an issue. But again, I don't know the major way that they could remedy that in the long run without entirely changing how the shoulder buttons work and operate.
Yeah.
That's another issue. But in terms of durability, it's a time will tell. Time will tell. Have they managed to kind of add durability to it? More on the button side, are they going to fix the right bumper, left bumper issues that people have, which is one of the primary things that people have problems with these days? On the PlayStation front, the major thing for me is the fact that they still haven't increased the battery capacity on the Pro controller. It's the same battery that they've got in the DualSense. Like, what? You've added all these features,
and you could assume that
capacity.
Yeah, and you could assume that it's like a little bit even more demanding. So
absolutely.
Controller lifetime is probably even going to be worse. So yeah, I mean, I really do like quality equipment for my gaming. So I'm a big fan of the Elite controllers. I'm actually debating right now if I should design one in the design lab. I love doing that. It's awesome. On the other hand, I'm having the feeling that we will see next year or so an Elite 3 with the button layout of the Series X and S controllers, because like on the Elite 2, the screenshot button is still missing. It's still basically the Xbox One controller as an Elite, of course. So I'm thinking about waiting because I really want that screenshot button. On the other hand, it's a fantastic controller, and with $140, I feel like you're getting your money's worth, definitely. And if it's true that they improve the durability, then especially then. So yeah, and so on the Sony side, I feel like 240 euros, again, that's almost also 240 US dollars, even though in the US you only pay 200, is like, it's just too much. I feel like that's not worth, at least for me, not worth a controller, especially since I don't play as much on my PlayStation as I do on my Xbox. And PC for that matter. And I use my PlayStation as an exclusive machine. Yeah, you know, I play like the big PlayStation games that I love, the first party ones. And actually, I'm also currently sometimes playing through a couple of things on the PS Plus Extra subscription. But yeah, comparable to my Xbox or PC, I just don't play as much on PlayStation, and for that, the investment is too high. Now, if I would be a hardcore, if PlayStation would be my main platform for the multi-platform games, would it be worth it? Still torn, because exactly of what you said about the battery life. Like, imagine right now my DualSense is like 4 or 5 hours, depending, of course, on the game. And if that's even less, like 3 to 4 hours, and I have to recharge it, I'm not sure if I would enjoy that experience. On the other hand, it's hard to tell how good it really is before you actually had it in your hand. So I'm definitely going to wait with my judgment until it's out, and I want to try it out in a store or something before I buy. But yeah, at that price point, I just don't see me right now investing in that. What do you guys think in chat about these Elite controllers? We want to hear from you guys as well.
Yeah, I think for the PlayStation 1 specifically, there's no doubt I'll get one in the future, because I want to try out all of these things. But at that price, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not paying 210 for it. It's like,
yeah.
The only reason I got the Halo one was because it's a limited edition controller. I missed out on the Gears of War Series 1 Elite, and I've regretted that ever since, because it's one of the best designed limited edition controllers that there has been. It's looked absolutely phenomenal. Not only that, it's physically impossible to get a hold of now. You can't find them, and I'm regretting not going after that controller when it was come out, because at that time I was like, nah, I've got an Elite, I don't need another one. And I regretted that decision.
You never need another controller. If you're honest, we all have enough controllers. But it doesn't hurt, man. It doesn't hurt. And I skipped the Elite 2. Honestly, I thought I was so happy with my Elite 1 that I didn't think the upgrade from the Elite 1 to 2 was worth it. But now at that price point for 140, that's that's almost an impulse buy, almost. So I'm still debating whether to design one. But yeah, the Elite 3 maybe next year. Man, and I would have to buy another one. It is what it is. Listen, man, before we come to the community questions, we need to talk about 2 other games. The first is Spiderman 2. Let's stay on PlayStation here. Announced last year, during their showcase last year. Obviously, they didn't have one this year. It was announced for 2023. And this week, Insomniac actually came out and said that it's still slated for 2023. They said, don't worry, we are making good progress and it's slated for 23. Showing games takes time, effort, and resources and coordination. There are multiple foes here. I can say this in this game. I can say the story very much continues and picks up from Marvel Spider-Man to Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. So, yeah, man. According to Insomniac, still coming out next year. Multiple foes in the game and a direct continuation of Miles Morales and Spider-Man. What do you think, man? Will we see this game next year? And what do you expect from it?
We hope so, because otherwise they've got nothing.
That's true. That.
Yeah. But yeah. I hope we do. The first Spider-Man was extremely well received. Of course, Spider-Man, again, it's mainly down on the superhero stuff, not for me. But the great games, great looking games. The last one was the best Spider-Man game that there has been. Insomniac always do phenomenal work. I expect Insomniac to be able to do it. Insomniac are an absolutely incredible studio. We say to this day they're probably one of the best studios now at Sony, if not the best studio that they've got. They're the ones that have kept them afloat essentially this generation up to this point, until Horizon dropped, and then eventually now God of War. It was Insomniac had released like 3-4 games at the start of the gen that kept them going, with Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered, and
Yeah.
3 games to start off the gen, and then now getting into this. Yeah, I expect Insomniac. They're really good, really talented developers. I expect them to bring it out in 2023.
They are. They carried basically the launch of the PS5. It's by far the busiest studio in the PlayStation roster. I'm super excited for the game. I love the first 2 games, Miles Morales and Spider-Man. I thought they were incredibly well done. And yeah, I can't wait. It's great to hear that at least we get some news on the highly anticipated PlayStation first-party games. We didn't get a showcase this year, which I get why they did it or didn't do it. It's still disappointing as a fan, because I love hype around showcases, and I love to see the exciting trailers of games that are coming down the line. So yeah, it was kind of disappointed to not have it. So at least we know Spider-Man is still on track for next year. Can't wait to play it. And let's hope that it won't get delayed, because like you said, what else do they have for next year? It's like that factions thing. But other than that, do we know about something else?
Nope.
I can't really recall. So yeah, they will have and I've said that before. Like the delay things we had from Xbox this year, we will see that from Sony next year. So yeah. Talking and changing the gameplay in parallel kind of hard for me, especially since it's already 10 p.m. for me. So yeah, man, good stuff here. Good stuff. Avowed. Yes. You've heard of this little game?
Yes, I have.
Yes, you have. We had our good friend Chess Corden on this podcast a couple of weeks ago. He will make a return for a full episode, no doubt. And we had him on earlier this year, where we actually talked about with Chess. and he was like, yeah, he was surprised that they didn't show it, and the time he has seen it, he thought it was fairly far along. And this week we had a couple of things about Avowed dropped. So the first thing is there was a screenshot going around on Twitter from Avowed, and Chess actually confirmed that this is a real screenshot from the game, but it is from a build, an older build. Yeah, let's say it this way. Let me see if I can find his quote. It is at least a year plus away old. So by now we have heard that they moved over to Unreal 5. Probably one of the reasons why the game got delayed, but there has been also a couple of other rumors about the game. And Chess came out and confirmed a couple of things. He said, of course, Avowed will impress people. And he said they did change up the team and change up the creative directors, but the result was better pace of speed and better vision. The first vertical slice under this new direction came a lot more quickly. Direction of the game changed in a good way, in my opinion, which I'll talk about someday. So yeah, he basically confirmed that management wasn't happy with where Avowed was going or the direction it was going, so they made adjustments and changed creative directors. And honestly, I don't see this as a bad. On the contrary, that's exactly what management needs to do. If you have, we have seen that with Halo. Halo is the perfect example where a good manager should have acted a lot sooner. You see, your game is going in a direction which you don't want it to go, content isn't there, pipeline isn't ready, whatever it was with Halo. And apparently Obsidian did that. And that just shows you it is a well-managed studio. I am super excited for Avowed. Everyone knows how much I love Skyrim. And now we are getting from Obsidian a game set in a high fantasy world, the world of Eora from Pillars of Eternity, which is a super incredibly exciting world and a deep lore, and it's amazing. And that's where in the same world we will get this Skyrim-esque take from Obsidian. And if you look at some of the RPGs that they made, like Fallout New Vegas and Outer Worlds, incredibly well written and well built RPGs, and you get that quality in story writing and in world building, now funded by a big AAA budget from Microsoft. And they even got enough time because Avowed is now also quite a while in development. It's been, I think, like almost 5 years now that it's been in development. They've changed directions with that game, and that just tells me that the ambition of this game and the hopes for this game are incredibly high, and that's why it's probably one of my most anticipated Xbox games. So what do you think of Avowed, dude?
Yeah, I mean exactly the same. It's one of my most anticipated games as well, and primarily that's just thanks in no certain circumstances. Thanks to the likes of the Outer Worlds and Grounded most recently. Just excited by what that team's able to create and what they have created that I've played. I'm not a huge Pillars of Eternity fan, but what I do know is that they've got the capabilities of creating an awesome world in what is already an awesome lore. They've got a lot of lore to go on with the Pillars of Eternity universe, and creating that into an awesome new Western RPG open world game set in that universe by the team that have created the Outer Worlds and Grounded. Yeah, I think it's going to be phenomenal. It's definitely right up there with some of my most anticipated games, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And fun speculations as in chat. Shout out to Mav, by the way. Great that you're here, buddy. We need to get you back on the show, by the way. I need to reach out to you. He says, crazy that Xbox has now in Exile Bethesda and Obsidian under one roof. Absolutely. Xbox has become that juggernaut of Western RPGs. We're in for a treat this gen. We also have Playground now making a Fable RPGs. We will play a lot of them on Xbox this gen. But man, with that, I want to move over to the community questions. All right, there we go. Everyone knows what the community questions are. Each and every Wednesday, you can write in on Twitter, on YouTube, or wherever you want to send in your topics and questions that you want us to discuss here. And so did a couple of amazing people here. And the first question comes in from Lazy Couch Gamer. He says Scorn has a meta of 71/6.7. Is this the price to pay if you're doing something out of the ordinary, or is it just a mediocre game? I liked it very much, but I don't mind weird, though. Greetings from Wiesbaden, by the way. Yeah. Grüße zurück. Yeah. So, hi. Man, what do you think? Scorn, did they try to do too much so that it didn't appeal to people, or is it just a mediocre game? I know you played it.
Yeah, so Scorn was never going to appeal to everybody. It's specifically with the artwork. I mean, it is a great game to behold, but it's set in a H.R. Geiger universe, and even some people that I was speaking to on Twitter didn't even know who H.R. Geiger was, which kind of speaks volumes to it. And obviously, the designers very well based everything in that game around H.R. Geiger, and obviously he's the original creator of the Xenomorph, the alien. That was his original design, and that's where it came from. But most people didn't know that, so they didn't know what to think of this game or the ambience they were going for. And I think a lot of people also didn't research enough about the game beforehand, which a lot of people don't anyway. They just see it and think, I'm going to play that. And they don't really look to see what it's about first before getting into it. They just say, I'm going to try it. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. But if you had looked into it prior, you would have known it was more of a puzzle game, and it was light on action. Did have some action, but not much. The shooting elements weren't really part of it. That was more just a way to kind of survive certain sections, as it were, than to actually have a purpose of killing people. So, no, it's a nice, short, sweet, horror, creepy puzzle game. The audio is awesome. The soundtrack's awesome. The artwork is awesome. It looks great. But I understand that it's not for everybody because it is pretty slow paced. And again, it's a puzzler. And I think that caught a lot of people off guard. They expected something else.
Yeah. I mean, the way how they showed the trailers, everyone was expecting like shooting and stuff to be in the main focus, because in their trailer they had like, yeah, you see this guy reloading a weapon and stuff. So yeah. I haven't played it myself, so I can't really talk about it. I've downloaded it, but yeah, it really doesn't appeal too much to me either. So that's why I haven't started it yet. I don't know, man. But I see a couple of people really enjoying it, and more power to them. I mean, if you enjoy it, that's cool, man. That's cool. The next question comes in from you. He says, "Hi, Box and Dutch. Hope you are both doing well. Thank you. Think we're doing well, Dutch. I think we are doing well. Like many people, I'm a fan of those big third-person single-player cinematic narrative games, which Sony typically specializes in. Mainly because as a young dad, I typically don't get the time to play and complete RPGs as they are too long. Therefore, my question to you is, if Xbox wanted to start offering these type of games from their first-party output, who do you think Xbox should acquire? For me, Crystal Dynamics and Eidos was the obvious buy, or alternatively, maybe a Sobo. See, a Plague Tale. P.S. I know we have Hellblade, but that's just one game, and Compulsion's game is still a rumor. Third person action adventure, narrative story-driven games. Ooh. we know
Which
that they
studio?
are, which studio, and maybe which new acquisition. I mean, he's got a point with the Crystal. Honestly, that it was such an obvious thing, and I feel like
I think at this point, Asobo is an absolute obvious. Yeah, we've said this. We said this the other day, and we've said this for a while now. They've got a really great relationship, Xbox and Asobo. It makes absolute sense. I mean, they've got what is a 10-year partnership essentially for Flight Sim, and we laugh at that for Halo. But when it comes to Flight Sim, like, those games last forever. They've got mega huge communities. And we're not just talking about the game itself. We're talking about the content creators that literally create planes for the game, which take thousands upon thousands of hours to do. So a 10-year partnership for that with Asobo, as well as, of course, day and date with Plague Tale Requiem on Gamepass, having the previous Plague Tale on Gamepass. I can foresee Plague Tale potentially returning to Gamepass in the future. You never know. I mean the first one, and of course, their quality is for everybody to see. Obviously, we know. I think they used Unreal 5 for this one, but they've got their own proprietary engine that is very capable. Very, very capable engine, which was used again in Flight Sim, was used in a Plague Tale 1.
It was also used in 2.
Oh,
still
it was
their
used in 2
proprietary.
as well.
Yeah, it's still their proprietary engine. Yeah.
Terrific, and that's obviously, as you can say, extremely capable. So,
Asobo would definitely make sense. But what else? I mean, I could see Crytek, like bring back Rise.
That one for years as well. They could do with a new owner. They could do with a new owner.
They could. Yeah, man. I know a lot of people want Xbox to make those third-party, single-player, narrative-driven games. I'm not sure if Xbox themselves do feel the same. Like, they want games that people play longer, and that's why they have like these big single-player RPGs like Starfield coming up. Yeah, Redfall is not going to be a small game. And especially since it's online and co-op, it's going to be played a lot. And then they have like Avowed and Fable and these type of single-player games that are played longer. Not the 10 to 15 hour experience. We will get Hellblade, but other than that, I don't think that that's a main focus for them right now. But I would love to have a couple of them, like that Uncharted kind of experience, But also Sony tends to make longer games these days. If you look at games like Horizon Forbidden West is a massive game, at least 30 hours. Did you play that? And so on. I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. I want to say one thing though. Crystal is the perfect example why we all want ABK to be over soon. Like, Xbox has been stuck in this, we can't do anything, nowhere, for way too long now already. And the longer it takes, the longer or more often we will see other publishers just pick up stuff. Yeah, the gaming industry as a whole is in a buyout phase right now. You've seen Sony acquired in the last 2 years, 10 studios or so?
Yeah. The
Tencent
consolidation phase now.
Yes. Tencent is buying left and right. Even Saudi Arabia wants to go into purchasing. Bigger publishers now. I would be surprised if Ubisoft isn't one of the next bigger publishers that's gonna get bought by someone. Maybe friendly or hostile takeover. Who knows? But yeah, that's where I see Microsoft's issue right now. They are stuck now in this loop and miss out on chances because of it. Lazy Couch Gamer writes in. He asks, could Microsoft compromise and do something like not put Call of Duty into Game Pass, but only in the UK to appease the CMA? And I mean, ever not just the next few years, like the ABK Sony deal commands? Can they even stop the deal if they do? So since that region is the only one they hold power over. I mean, but come on.
We've spoke to Luke about this. Obviously, if you want to go back and watch a previous episode, I think it's 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Was it 2 weeks ago? It was, wasn't it?
I think so. I think 2 weeks ago. 2 or 3 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, if the CMA says no, and there is no flaws, not flaws in their arguments, but flaws in their processes, i.e., they have done things by the book, they haven't kind of done things incorrectly, then there is no other route to explore. If they say no, then deal's done. It's over.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Where there's essentially kind of a clause in this that stipulates that if all markets have to agree to it, not just one or the vast majority, all markets have to agree in order for the deal to go through. So with that in mind, yes, the CMA, if they choose to, and they say no,
they could block.
Then deal's gone.
On the other side, Microsoft could take them to court then.
Yeah, they could,
and they will. And they will. If they block it, they will.
Yeah. I don't think they'd want to get into that right now, that the UK, and this is another thing, the UK is in absolute turmoil right now. I don't think the CMA can afford to cause any further issues for the UK as it stands right now. And I don't think the taxpayers would be very happy with government bodies spending millions going to court with Microsoft. When they're not even prepared to cover energy costs, etc. When they're spiraling out of control. So, on the other front, Call of Duty, no, they will not. They will not give concessions for one market over another. It's either everywhere or it's nowhere.
I agree there. I don't think that you will see different things happening to Call of Duty in the UK than everywhere else. I absolutely agree there. Yeah, man. Good talk. With that, I already want to bring that show to an end, man. It's been a blast as always, and that's not just because of you, man, but it's also because of this amazing community. So thank you guys for everyone who showed up, who listens after the fact. I do hope you enjoyed the show as much as we do, because we always have a blast here. But it's the great interactions and the cool chat and the people in this community that truly drive this show. So thanks for showing up here. Thanks again for all the super chats, and thanks just for all the support that you show to us. It truly does mean a lot, man. And Dutch, let everyone know what you've coming up. I know you plan a stream right now.
Yeah. In about 40 minutes time, I'm going to be streaming the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, which is obviously out on early access now for those who have pre-ordered. So I'll be doing that on my channel in, like I say, about 40 minutes. So if you want to go and see what that's like, what it looks like, I will be playing it on Series S. I always play it on the lowest console there is, so you can see what that looks like and expect only better things if you're playing on an X or a 5. Naturally, of course, they're going to be the most higher resolution, higher quality versions, but the Series S always looks tremendous. So I think you'd be pleasantly surprised by the stream as well. It's always in the highest quality we can physically stream in the UK anyway, which is 2K. thanks to broadband restrictions that we've got in the UK, of course. It's mainly down to the upload speeds and anything else. PC could handle it. But yeah, other than that, of course, you can find me on the weekend on the weekend edition of the Midweek Mix-Up, and again next week for both Save Tuesday's Playcast and the Midweek Mix-Up podcast with, of course, Boxenberger on Wednesday next week. So yes, other than that, as always, Boxy, pleasure being here as your co-host every week. It's always a blast. Huge shout out to this community, great community, always great community questions as well. Good times, good having fun with yourself, and really good conversations.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Thanks for being here each and every week. It is a highlight of my week, and I already look forward to next week for two reasons, Dutch. Not are we just going to have the regular show on Thursday, but we will have a very special episode on Tuesday. 5 p.m. Central Europe. That's 4 p.m. UK, and I think it's 10 a.m. Eastern. We will have a very special episode of the World of Gaming. So it's like for you guys in the US, it's going to be a breakfast show. For us, a late afternoon show. And we will have Keo Keen here as a guest in a 45-minute special interview. We will get the developers of Deliver Us Moon and the upcoming Deliver Us Mars as a guest. I said last week that we would have this interview this week, but we had to delay because of the availability. But we will have the CEO of Keo Keen there and a lead technical artist of Deliver Us Mars. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about with them. And you can also send in community questions for that as well. If you have any questions you would like us to ask them, we will post about that, of course, on the regular channels. You know them for more details. But this is gonna be one hell of a week next week, and it's gonna be awesome. But for today, I want to close the show. Guys, I hope you have a great Friday tomorrow and then a fantastic weekend. Play some games, enjoy what you play, and don't forget to game on.